CardinalsToday.com.
Welcome back, 365 Sports. Top 5 most interesting teams in the NFL draft. This one's been gathering dust for 2 days now before we got to do it because it was supposed to be for Wednesday. So we're going to roll up here today. Number 5, the Denver Broncos. They were... I thought we might get to talk about this in off the radar yesterday if we had a show because of the whole Russell Wilson thing, but it is such a strange deal for Sean Payton to go in pretty much already knowing he didn't want Russell Wilson and have to ride that out for a year, and then them taking this huge bath on the salary cap on it, and they have the 12th pick in the draft. They need a quarterback. I would assume that they're going to try and get one. But to me, they're very interesting in how do you do that and how do you build around this guy with, they've got, a normal amount of draft picks, but with, this huge chunk off your salary cap for the next couple years. The team clearly in transition, Sean Payton trying to prove something. This is an important year for him in the Broncos.
What is this again?
Most interesting teams in the draft.
Okay.
Like they've got maybe more interesting storylines than everybody else.
Okay, yeah, I mean, certainly Sean Payton's got some questions to answer, and the whole Russell Wilson situation just crumbling the way that it did was fascinating. Don't think a lot of people are crying for Russell Wilson either. He's really just not made many fans, has he? I remember a time not long ago,
he was,
and I guess it was long ago, where he just seemed like a nice dude that a lot of people liked, and just in the years since, I just don't hear a lot of good things about him. It's unfortunate, but they definitely have a lot of questions. I know our man Deontay is a big Broncos fan, so last year was a roller coaster for him. But yeah, what do they do at quarterback, and how do they start to shift this thing under Payton's in his vision? I guess. What does that look like?
Number 4, the Raiders. Picking at 13 right now, but they desperately need a quarterback, and I don't think that they're going to roll out with Aiden O'Connell. No offense to former Purdue star, and Jack loves Aiden O'Connell. He talks about him all the time. I kid. But they're at 13, so theoretically somebody could follow them, but you would think that before 13, those top 4 quarterbacks are going to be off the board. So they're going to have to move and do something, and the thing I think is interesting about the Raiders is for the last few months, they actually look like they're doing things the right way. And they've maybe stumbled across a leadership group that works there. And that would be the first time in a long time. And we'll see how long before Mark Davis gets frantic and blows it up. But if they can actually get their quarterback in the draft, that is their quarterback of the future and can legitimately be there for a few years to replace Derek Carr, that would be huge. But they were just good enough to where now that's a bit of a question going into this draft.
Yeah, I mean, when Aiden O'Connell kind of showing a little something that maybe...
A little bit, but I still think that they would,
Yeah, you probably go for a big first-round type talent. But, yeah, I don't know who that would be at that point or who's available. Given what's projected. So who would be the next tier of quarterbacks?
I mean, you're talking about maybe if you get to 13 of those 4 guys are gone, which I think McCarthy's now widely thought to be the 4th one. If McCarthy's gone, then you wait until the second round and hope that Nix and Penix are there. And
yeah, that's true. Yeah, that could definitely. I could see one of those guys being attractive and Raider worthy. Aiden O'Connell, he flashed some things, but I definitely wouldn't be surprised to see them move in the direction of a franchise quarterback. That just did not work the way they thought. The whole transition from Derek Carr to Jimmy G and all of that was not at all what they were hoping for, nor was their head coaching position supposed to be Antonio Pierce by the end of the year.
No.
But they seem to love him and are rallying around him, and it's like this is about as Oakland as Las Vegas is going to get, probably ever again. So they seem to be all in on Antonio Pierce and him knowing the Raiders' mythos and how that franchise operates. And they've got a big old fun city to lure free agents too, and it's a different ball game for them, but they kind of are still the same old Raiders in some ways. So yeah, can they get that franchise quarterback and kind of get over that hump?
I feel like that they have that Vegas is taking them in.
Yeah,
they have.
Just when we were there for the Super Bowl, for the few days we were there, you could kind of, first of all, Allegiant Stadium is freaking right. I mean, it's just like a huge spaceship landed right in the middle of the city. But they really have. It's a Raiders city. And sometimes that's not always the case when you move from one city to the next, but they did a good job in getting that city ready for them.
I meant to ask y'all, what y'all think of the Sphere? Did y'all see very much of that?
Oh,
Yeah,
we
I
saw
saw
it from the party.
The eyeball was a little strange.
Sometimes it looks cool, and sometimes I'm just like, it looks kind of stupid, like just the big yellow smiley face in the middle of the city. But,
I do think that like there's just a couple dudes in a room taking mushrooms and
coming up with stuff.
Let's put this out there and see if it flips out the city.
Yeah, it just kind of depends on what version I see of it. It looks really cool, and then sometimes I'm just like, it looks like really bad marketing or something. But no, I've heard people that have gone to concerts there say it's just like the most amazing experience ever. But I hadn't asked y'all about that.
So Dhani Jones is on the show with us, and he asked us, "Are you going to the U2 show at the Sphere?" And I said, "Nobody invited me." He goes, "General admission." So after he got up, I looked, and it was like $380
for one ticket.
For one ticket, and I would have been like, "No, I'm not." Like I would love to go and see U2 at the Sphere, although I would have to have for $380. They would have to sign a contract. Bono would have to sign it in front of me saying, that album we got on Apple that was the worst thing we ever did.
Still on my computer.
Yeah. That Apple, that thing that's still there.
Yep, still there.
They can't play that. $380. If they play any one song, one note of one song of that album, I get my money back.
You can't delete it. I've tried 100 times to delete it off my iTunes, and you can hide it.
Yeah.
And then it inevitably comes back up at some point, and you can only hide it. And I don't know how to get into like the deep files to erase it entirely, but it's still there. It's like 7 years later.
If anybody knows how arrogant you can be as a rock star, when Apple comes to you and goes, "Hey, we got an idea. We're going to put this album on every iPhone." If you don't even have a second of doubt and like, "Hey, not everybody in the world likes us." I mean, a lot of people do, but not every single person in the world likes us. That to me is a level of confidence that is heretofore unknown.
Pretty big ego to think that everybody's just going to roll with that. And did not happen that way.
Yeah. Absolutely. Number 3, the Bears. The Bears at number 3. They have the first pick in the draft, and they're probably picking Caleb Williams. They do not have a second-round pick, but they'll probably get one because they're going to trade Justin Fields. And I would think that a second-round pick for him is pretty fair, given that he's a young quarterback who's played fairly well with a lot of upside. And right now, he doesn't cost you all that much contractually. If you don't like him, you can be out of this deal in 2 years and move on to the next one. So they're going to have some pretty good picks in each round to build up a team that it looks like they are also starting to come around the corner. And if they get a second-round pick, then that gives you a real opportunity. Oh, they also have it doesn't really matter if they don't get a second-round pick because they also have the 9th pick in the first round. So you can have the first pick, the 9th pick, and some pick between 33 and 67 or 68, whatever it is, that is going to get you into the 64, sorry. But 64, that's going to get you 3 really solid players who could start for you in a year. Now I wouldn't say the NFC North is wide open because the Lions are good. Jordan Love appears to have erased any kind of longing for Aaron Rodgers that might have, been fractionally left over in Green Bay. This means the Bears need to strike while the iron's hot because the Vikings are a little vulnerable right now, and the Lions and Packers aren't waiting for you. So if you've got this opportunity to make a move, you got to do it.
Yeah, I mean, you don't know when the time will come again, and if it comes too soon, that means that you've had another bad run. So, you got to take full advantage, but it's an exciting draft for Chicago. I mean, I would think Caleb Williams is the obvious choice at number 1, although I'm sure there will be plenty of roller coaster reports leading into the draft here over the next over the next month and change now at this point. But, yeah, that's exciting to have 2 picks like that. I've seen my franchise have, that happened, I think, on one occasion. Just sucks, though, when you get, like, the big star, flashy offensive weapon, and then you go get, like, the lineman, But it's like you have to have that guy, though, too, to protect the other guy or to help the other guy. But, yeah, ideally you're getting, like, Caleb Williams, and then you're getting, like, Roma Dunze or something like that.
I've seen a lot of mocks with that exact scenario.
I'd be over the moon if I was a Bears fan. Are you kidding me? I'd do backflips, and I can't do backflips.
There'd be people getting tattoos of, like, the 2 of them.
Oh, my God. I'd go insane. But, that's fun to have, so we'll see what they do with it.
Number 2, the Cardinals. Now, this is a ridiculously poorly run organization, and this is why they're constantly in this spot. But they were able to spin off a pick to the Texans last year that they used to jump into the top. So they had 2 top 3 picks in Stroud and Anderson. They now have the Texans' first-round pick, and the Texans still had a first-round pick to deal with because of the Deshaun Watson deal. So the Cardinals have pick number 4 and pick number 27. I do not think that they stay at 4 because if they stay at 4, sure, you can draft Marvin Harrison Jr., Rome Odunze, or Malik Neighbors, whoever you think the best wide receiver is. And I think that's their biggest area of need for Kyler Murray as he continues on as their quarterback. But more than likely, there's going to be a team out there like the Vikings, the Broncos, or the Raiders that desperately want to trade up and get that fourth quarterback from you. And I do think that they will trade that pick and load up on the way down the draft, especially since they have that other one coming at 27. And this is a team that's not exactly two first-round draft picks away from, hoisting a Lombardi trophy, especially being in a division with the 49ers and a good Rams team. So they have an opportunity to really get a ton of picks here and build out at every position and take a deep draft at wide receiver, which is very deep, and get one or two guys to help their wide receiver core and move on. I'm curious to see what they do with it, because this is not a group that is classically making great decisions when it comes to picking their players.
Yeah, I don't really have a lot to say about the Cardinals. They're just sort of there for me at this point. I mean, they're clearly making the decision to continue rolling with Kyler. That's great. But beyond that, if you had said that they didn't even play last year, I wouldn't have noticed. I mean, honestly, I really probably wouldn't have noticed. They were just background noise and results to me, because they're in such a flux right now. But it's all in on Kyler now or never, right? I mean, if you're going to win with him, you got to win now, because otherwise you got to start making your exit plans on what the future is really going to look like, and how much time do you continue to give him to say, this is the guy that's going to lead us back to the promised land? Or am I crazy there?
No, you're not. And look, they just gave him an extension a couple years ago, so they've got to kind of ride out the meaty part of that.
But it's like now or it's never. Yeah. Like, you're not getting another contract after this if you don't get some skins on the wall as far as results go, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Number 1, the Chargers. They sit at 5. They have an eccentric, I'll call Jim Harbaugh a genius. I think he's a pretty damn good coach. Kind of an eccentric genius, mad scientist guy at the head coach that knows how to build winners. He did it in San Francisco. He obviously did it in Michigan. He did it at Stanford. He's done it everywhere he's been. And he's got a quarterback to build around, and they pick at 5th. They don't need a quarterback, and say the Cardinals don't trade their pick, that's going to put the Chargers in position to maybe do that. But Brock Bowers is going to be sitting there. There's a lot of good offensive linemen. There's a lot of things the Chargers can do. I would not be surprised to see this team, of the teams in the top 10, be the one that's really good, really fast, because they'll stop wasting Justin Herbert's potential. Now, they have a lot of things they have to do with veterans and make decisions that way, but a couple of tweaks here and there, and I really feel like, especially as locked in as Jim Harbaugh gets to things, that they could be really good, really fast, in spite of, playing in the same division with the Chiefs. They could maybe start to make some headway there.
Did you hear and I don't mean to interrupt, the Chiefs are now the most hated NFL franchise?
Yeah, because they win.
And not the Cowboys.
People hate winners.
People hate winners.
We love the rise, and then when they win too much, we start to hate the success.
Yeah, I mean, and then there's a whole Taylor Swift backlash that's just so stupid. I cringe every time I see another headline involving that at all, because it's just so silly. But yeah, I'm not surprised to hear that. The Chargers, though, I mean, they're just sort of in a great spot, but in a weird spot, because they haven't had much success here. But I think it's awfully exciting. You look around that division, the Raiders obviously have their new Diggs and their new coach that they hope's the guy for a while, and now they're going to probably go get their new quarterback, but they've got some other things that you really like about them. The Chiefs are the Chiefs, obviously, and the Broncos now moving on from Russell Wilson. No, they're going to go get a quarterback and see how Sean Payton starts to build this thing up. So the division itself is pretty clear who the top dog is, and then the other three are just all kind of in a similar spot. The Chargers, unlike the other two, have their quarterback, but now do they have their head coach? I think so. I don't know how you could have done much better than Jim Harbaugh, and so I'm excited to see. I know people are torn on or polarized by him, or torn on whether you like him or you don't like him or not, but I do, regardless, think he's a great football coach, and I'm excited to see kind of how he goes about building this thing. So yeah, I'm fascinated by what he starts to do with the Chargers and that roster and the draft and everything else that comes with that.
Yeah, the people in Michigan will take bullets for him now.
Winner natty, baby.
You're talking about 27 years between titles. right? In a place that used to just, book 2 days. Like, if we lose the Big Ten, we're going to play on this day. If we win the Big Ten, we're going to play on this day. So we're okay no matter what. Like, it's Rose Bowl or the national championship. And then from 1997 on, like, until he got there, you couldn't even really think about it. And so, yeah, the dude wins.
Yeah,
and yes,
he does.
He's very off-puttingly strange. I get it. If I had to cover him, I would like kind of walk out of there every day going, I don't know what just happened. I don't know what press conference I was just at. But the bottom line is he's not there to win press conferences. He's there to win football games, and that's what I think the Chargers are about to do.
Yeah, and I don't know.